March 31st, 2026. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the 2002 chart using NinjaTrader 8. This is what the chart looked like today. It was quite a big move from the pre-market lows of 63.53 to 65.83. This is like 250 points of move. But the actual regular trading hours, which is about right here, would probably be considered about maybe 140. So just in this pre-market, there was like a 100-point move. It was quite substantial. The only economic data that came out today was at 7 o'clock right here, which barely did anything. It was the JOLTS Job Openings. Now, there was news that came out every so often, of course, about Iran and prices and etc. And I managed to take 2 trades today. I lost on the first one and then won on the second one. I tried to stay disciplined, so I didn't take any trades after that. And then hopefully the loss in the first one isn't going to just kind of progress forward, because I seem to have a system, well, not a system, but a tendency to lose the first one and then be good on the second one. But that was like a couple weeks ago or last week where that just seems to always play out. So try to break that cycle, just be a little bit more cautious. There was a push up in the pre-market, sell off. It looks like it was 2 legs up essentially, break, and then it just went sideways, and then it was in this range maybe, and then it started pushing up on this yellow up channel. Oh, also, I thought there was a big measured move because it almost looked like prices looked like it was a stair step up, sideways, step up, and then kind of a sideways here. But I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because it didn't really come into play. Okay, then on the market open, after this kind of big recovery of pretty much 100 points, localized high, first entry long, pullback. Well, it's just a lot of second entries can be found, but it's very congested, very whippy. So I started watching the price action starting right here. So it's a localized low, first entry short, second entry short. EMA is starting to turn bullish, but there's no real clean second entry longs in here or second entry shorts. Localized swing high, first entry long pullback. You have a second entry long here, it's a terrible signal bar. Then you get a higher low, or maybe you can consider it a failed second entry short, but again, it's a terrible signal bar. EMA isn't very reliable right now because it's just cutting through the price action. Prices break out of what I thought was a trading range, almost comes back down, and then pushes back up, and actually does push back down to here. When this candle forms, that's when I established this trend line here. But it was only a trend line. I didn't have as a channel yet because I only had this one, and I didn't know these two would confirm it later. So prices push up, break of the green up channel, test the high, first entry long pullback. You technically have a second entry long here. Again, it's a bad signal bar. Plus, if it did form well, I'd be a little cautious buying right into the high of day. So it pushes up again, then it reverses back. Here, the EMA is starting to curl up. There's a break of this orange down channel, doesn't test the low, and it reverses back up. New low, first entry short pullback. You technically have a second entry short here. Normally, I think this is a possible trade, but if you look over to the left, it's clearly going bullish. And when this one formed and closed, I was thinking I'm looking for a lower high, and unfortunately the lower high doesn't show up, so this could have been a possible trade. And after this candle formed and it moved down, that's when I established that this trend line is 2-3 touch confirmations. Probably have a high side here because it also has pretty much 2-3, maybe 4 touch confirmations here. So in real time, there was no way, well, I didn't trust the setup enough, trust this channel enough, but in hindsight, I think there was a possible trade here, but unfortunately, in real time, I couldn't justify it. And then I was looking for a lower high, which doesn't show up till maybe here, but here's a double top, so I didn't really like that. Pushes down. I thought there might have been some kind of support here, but it didn't really come into play. Pushes to the low side. Now creates a localized high, first entry long pullback. You have a second entry long here. I called an almost trade because this is the first break of this yellow up channel. But again, I was looking for a higher low confirmation. So I called an almost trade right here. And unfortunately, never broke above this guy. If this setup was the same, except it broke 1 tick above, then I definitely would have jumped in on this candle, like after this one closed. But since it created double top, I was a little bit unsure. I didn't really quite have a trading range yet. breaks to the high side, fail breakout, pushes back down. When this third confirmation occurs, so it's 1 touch, 2 touch, 3 touch, that's when I establish a potential trading range and a potential fail breakout. But I kept the idea in the back of my mind that could the top of the range actually be here? So I wasn't sure. Break of this orange down channel technically is tested low, but you really only have a first entry long, then it creates a new high again, then another first entry long. Technically, you have a localized low first entry short. You have a second entry short made right here, but it visually looks more like a first entry, second entry. Unfortunately, the next 3 bars to try to look for a setup are inside to this guy. So the momentum of this and the strength of this bar couldn't be broken out by the next 3 bars. So that makes me extra cautious. Finally does break out and bounces. So it looks like it, at this point in time, it looks like it's moving back into this yellow up channel until it doesn't and it fails and breaks down. So actually, this high is actually slightly higher than this one, but I just pretty much reset the count here. You have first localized high, first entry long pullback. You have a second entry long here, terrible signal bar. Starts moving down. There's no clean entries that I feel like I could take. And it moves nicely in this this orange down channel. Unfortunately, there was no way for me to enter this. Comes down to here. I thought maybe there's some kind of support here, but as you can see, it never really plays out. So I'm going to go ahead and also delete this guy. At the time, I thought it was important, but as prices moved up, it just kind of got left to the wayside. Localized low. Technically, I reset the count here because they're pretty much, even if it's off by a tick, you can pretty much consider this as localized low. There's a first entry short pullback. You technically have a second entry short. Break of the green up channel is tested the high. Maybe it's coming back down, but it just wasn't the best signal bar. It's inside to this. Pushes up, localized high. All you have technically is a first entry long. It makes new high again. Then break, another first entry long. Another first entry. Technically you have a second entry, but this feels like it's in the middle of nowhere. This blue channel in real time doesn't exist when this candle prints. And actually, it doesn't really even seem like it's in play now. So I'm going to go ahead and delete it. It was actually after prices looked like they might be coming back. I drew it, but it should actually be gone now. It's a localized low. First entry short pullback, second entry short. And fortunately, the setup here isn't the cleanest. I don't like this. There's too much stem on each side. And then this follow through, which is this guy, feels a little neutral. Starts coming back down. Localized high. First entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here. Again, it's an inside bar. Then you might get a higher low here, but it's a wrong colored bar. Plus the bodies are pretty much the same size, side by side. Just feels congestion. Feels like it's congestion right here. Then it pushes up. So it looks like it's one leg up, pull back, second leg, then pull back down. When this broke out and through, I was thinking, is there a potential range here? I wasn't sure. When it came up to here, that's when I established the high of the range, and I just kind of arbitrarily put the low of the range here. So in this, when I see this and I establish it, I'm thinking, okay, there's a failed breakout here. Maybe there's going to be a breakout here. I need more price action to really trust the highs and lows of this range. So I'm just waiting right now. So it does break, creates a fail breakout. It's a decent signal bar here. Looks like a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short. I don't really like taking a short here when there's concern that even though this is a resistance before, going to become a support. But it does look like it has 2 legs up. I want either a lower high or a higher low to give me an idea of the overall bias of what's going to happen. Now I do look to the left and I think, despite this big move up, it just looks like it's moving sideways. You don't know what's going to show up and prices keep bouncing upwards. So I'm just extra cautious. I marked it as a fail breakout. I'm watching this, looking for a lower high, ideally, maybe within this range. Then it starts reversing up and then just doesn't give me a, well, technically gives you a new low, first entry short, second entry short failure. Here, as if I was going to go long, I'm looking for a higher low. You kind of get a higher low here, but in real time, I don't trust this higher low yet that it forms here. Then this could be confirming that prices are going to go back up. So you wait, or I wait, and I watch, and I see this. Now I just don't like this at all because I don't like this side by side kind of congested price action. You don't know it's going to flush up like this. Pushes up. Going to scroll forward a little bit. This actually sets up for my first trade. Actually, yeah, my first trade. So what I'm seeing here right now is this looks like it's 2 legs down. Localized high, first leg down, pull back, second leg. So I have a second entry long here. I'm seeing this in real time. I established this trend line. This actually has migrated slightly at a little bit tighter. So even though it's a tiny little breakout here, I thought I was in this bigger move up because there's a break of the green up channel, tests the high, comes back, doesn't really move back into the range, and it kind of looks like it's moving up again. So I was thinking, so first entry, pullback, second entry. I like the look of this signal bar. So it looked like it was 2 legs down, pretty much a measured move, bouncing off the EMA. I said it's also bouncing off this yellow up channel support. So it's a small break. It looks like it's coming back in. So I thought the signal bar was pretty decent. I also thought, even though it's 2 legs down, when this one formed, I thought this is a decent signal bar close near the high. I entered, so I stop limit order up here, dragged it down, put it one above here. It opens, flushes up, fills me, and unfortunately flushes back down, stops me out. My stop was below this guy, so it did stop me out right at the 1 tick. 2 ticks, it probably would have stopped me out again. But what kind of breaks my heart is then it kind of proceeds going in the direction that I actually wanted. So I look back at this and I thought, okay, I was a little early on the setup. So it is 2 legs down. It's better to wait for a higher low. You technically don't get a higher low. So if I did wait for a higher low, this move up would have saved me from a loss, but I also wouldn't have been on the trade. So it was kind of a risk that I took because I thought the EMA was starting to show strength. I was confident prices are going to move back into this orange up channel, this yellow up channel. Now, whether this orange down channel is in play or not, I saw it more as 2 legs. I later did draw it as an orange down channel. So that maybe should have given me a little bit of caution because to interpret it as 2 legs down or moving in the same leg, I should have been a little more cautious. So it's a loss. And if I waited, then it would have been a no trade. And in hindsight, yes, I probably should have waited. It would have been a no trade, and then it would have been at least no losses here. Prices move up, breaks out of this yellow up channel, but then I drew this because it looks like it's just spiking and going. Break, test the high, break of the green up channels, test the high, keeps going. This dotted blue line is marking and tracking the high of day. So prices are running away now. I initially had 2 measured leg drawn here, but it never really met it. So I'm just watching this right now push up. It's a localized high, comes back down, pushes up, creates the high of day. It's a first entry long, pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here. It's a little far from the EMA. I was thinking at the time, it looks like it was 1 leg down, pullback, and the second leg. And it does make this measured move, but it didn't set up any trades for me. So it's localized high, first entry long, pullback, technically second entry long, out in the middle of nowhere, looking for a higher low. You don't really quite get a higher low. Pushes up the high side, then starts pushing back down. I established when this touch happens, the low side of this channel, and then it fit pretty well to the high side. So I'm looking for a potential rejection here, but it never shows up and it just kind of pushes through. Pushes to the high side, localized, didn't mean to do that. Localized high, you technically have a first entry long and then you have a second entry long because this candle actually breaks above this guy. Break this orange has tested low. Seeing this in real time, I'm thinking it is probably going to bounce and come back up, but it's a bad signal bar. So I'm looking for a higher low now. And you really don't get a higher low till maybe right here. But by the time this higher low shows up, it feels too far from the initial setup. You want the higher low closer to your second entry long. And also, this higher low is below the EMA. Granted, the EMA is a little ambiguous, so it's not as reliable as a key entry point, but nevertheless, it just feels like this isn't really, this higher low isn't associated with this. So there's no trade here. Prices start moving up. When it hits this high side, then I establish that there could be a potential shallow channel moving up. Let me go ahead and fast forward a little bit. So it creates a localized low. You don't really get a first entry short because this looks like it's there, but it isn't. So it's actually visually first entry short, second entry short, but it's actually by the count, first entry short here, second entry short. But I'm just watching and waiting cautiously. So it makes a localized high. It's a first entry long pullback. You have a second entry long here. I call it an almost trade because it's inside bar. It is bouncing off this trend line, which I like. So I just wanted to I wanted to go long, but I couldn't justify the trade here. Then the trade that I want shows up. It gives me a higher low. So it looks like it's two legs down, one leg down, pull back, second leg down, bouncing off the EMA, it's reversing back up. It is coming from the high side of this channel. And I like that this higher low engulfed this guy. So open, flushes down, and then takes it all back, engulfs this guy. As it has happening, I quickly dropped a stop limit order here, dragged it down to one tick above here. So this closes right here, opens, comes down a little bit, then immediately picks me up. And I think if my entry and then my exit happened pretty much within 10 seconds, it just kind of flushes up right away, takes my entry, and then gives me my profit target of the 6 ticks, I was pretty happy with that. So I didn't have to sit through any heat or anything like that. So it pushes up to the high side. It's failing to hit the high side of this blue channel. But a break of the green up channel, test the high, then it's a first entry long pullback. You technically have a second entry long here, but it's a bad signal bar. Again, I'm waiting. I was hoping for something like this candle will come down and touch here, and I would get a repeat here. But unfortunately, it comes back up, pushes back down, and it doesn't give me that repeat. So now I'm just watching and waiting. So it's a new low. It's a first entry short pullback. Technically, I have a second entry short. I was debating at the time whether this is a triple test. If potential, if you drew it here, then you definitely have a triple test. But I wasn't sure of my channel because it fits nicely here, but the low side is a little ambiguous. If I had it cut through higher, like initially here, then it had this huge fail breakout. So I wasn't really sure where I was or where prices were at the time. So I just kind of waited. So it creates a first entry short, second entry short, and then it gives me a lower high. But this lower high now, at the time I was thinking I'd be selling into this potential support area because I wasn't convinced that this is the low of the range, because this low of the range isn't established until pretty much this candle, because I had it as a support area here, but I didn't really trust it as a channel yet till this candle shows up here. So in real time seeing this, I'm thinking I'm going to be selling into this support. It's not something I want to do. So it's localized high, first entry long pullback. Technically, you have a second entry long here, but it's a bad signal bar. It is bouncing off this support, but I don't trust the support enough yet because it's only been confirmed once. Then it pushes up, first entry short pullback, second entry short. Again, I don't really like this setup. It goes back down. That's when when it touches here, I established this as a possible support, and that's where I established this as the possible range that I'm playing in. So it moves up, but I was also aware that there could be a sub range happening here because I noticed there was some kind of resistance here. So it's localized high, first entry long pullback, second entry long. I'm not the biggest fan of this. If this is green, then I think I would have tried to take a trade here because it'd just be following range rules with prices coming off the bottom of this range. Fortunately, it doesn't happen. Hoping for a higher low, it doesn't happen. It's the high side and it rejects. So I'm thinking, okay, there could be this purple range in play. And then visually it looks like a first entry short, pullback. Technically, I have a second entry short here. It looks like it's one leg pullback, second leg on the visual. The fail breakout, I'm not ready to go short here since it's outside of this potential range. So I'm looking for a lower high. Lower high never shows up and then it kind of spikes back up. Then it creates a localized high, just a first entry. Another localized high. You have a first entry, pullback, second entry. The second entry is hard to take because this is inside to this, and you had no idea it was going to completely engulf this. Plus, it never came back down to touch this trend line that I had established. This trend line, I was hoping for this to come down to touch here. Then when if it reversed strongly, it would look pretty good, but it kind of bounced off, in my case, middle of nowhere, at least how I drew it. And when I drew this with the 3 touches, I established the high side. So I did play with this high side for quite a bit. Initially, it was up here, then it kind of came down a little bit lower. When this candle formed, that's when I actually dragged it down and said, okay, there's a slight overshoot, but it looks like this yellow up channel is the one that's being obeyed. Unfortunately, there was no trade here. Localized high. And I just want to point out that this price action here looks pretty clean. Unfortunately, oftentimes setups failed for me or didn't check all the boxes for me due to bad signal bars. So it comes back down. Localized high confirms the high side of this yellow up channel pretty well. First entry long. You don't really get a second. You got a hidden second entry long here, but I was concerned that I might be buying into this potential resistance area because I was still thinking this range could be in play. So unfortunately, it's like a first entry long creates a new high. So I'm not ready. Since it created a new high, I have to restart the count. Comes back down, then it pushes up. It gets really tight trading right here. There is technically a second entry long here. It's a bad signal bar, bad setup in general. Pushes up, has a failed breakout. So I'm concerned now. Is it going to, since it's the first sign of weakness, is it going to end up correcting here, subsequently kind of leaving this yellow up channel behind? But as you can see later, the small little break was just a small little break. Pushes up to the high side, localized high again. You also have a new low, first entry short pullback, second entry short, coming off the high of day. I almost like this trade because it was engulfing. So I will mark it with this triangle, not this triangle, but an arrow. But the thing that, again, that stopped me, the way I have it drawn, and I have to admit, I might not even have my channel drawn the most clean, but it never touched the high side. And it's coming from the high of day. Clearly, prices look like they're moving up and out now. So I was concerned that I might be counter trend trading because I'm thinking prices are going up. In order for me to trust this, I want to see a lower high show up in the next couple of candles. But the lower high never shows up. So again, no trade there. You have a localized high, first entry long pullback. You have a second entry long here. Unfortunately, this candle is inside to this. If it had spiked below this guy, at least by one tick, then at least I could say this candle was outside this one, but it is an inside bar, so I have to leave it alone. And I'm looking for a lower high. And unfortunately, this candle was the candidate, higher low. This one was the candidate higher low, but it never broke above this guy. So it opens. I was waiting, watching it to break below this guy to drag my stop limit order to go long up here, but it never breaks below. Then it just rallies up. So again, no trade here. It's a first entry long pullback, second entry long. Unfortunately, it doesn't touch the EMA. If it closed at the high, then I would have considered it. Again, I'm just being extra cautious now. Plus, it's creeping into the last 30 minutes of the day. And as I said, all the subsequent setups kind of in this region were falling short for one reason or another, or I'm just being extra picky. And I'm okay being extra picky, especially right now. So it creates a localized high again. It's a first entry long pullback. Again, it never breaks below, give you a nice peg below and above, or a tick below and then move back up. So this candle again is inside this one. Despite the fact that it's already late in the day, this would have been a nice setup, but again, it fell short because of the signal bar. Pushes, creates a fail breakout on the high side. So now I'm very cautious. Oh, I wasn't, to clarify, I wasn't going to take any more trades, but I was thinking if this had set up earlier, seeing something like this, I'd have to be extra cautious on going on the first, second entry long until it plays out. Instead of wanting a second entry long, I want a higher low because this break could create a break on this side or it could correct downwards. So it was a localized high. Notice the break here. First entry long pullback, second entry long. So this is the one that I'd be extra cautious of. But I didn't even have to worry about that, despite the fact that it's late in the day. But it's the other reason was it's inside this, and then you get a higher low here. But by this time, it feels too sideways. Break of this range breaks the low side, and as you can see, this is already 12:56, and it's going to close pretty much about 4 minutes. There's quite a bit of price action here, but it's not anything I really want to get involved with because it just gets a little whippy, and things can kind of go crazy, especially in the last 10 minutes. So it does push up, looks like it has two legs up, but again, I'm not interested in any of this. And then this is the last minute, just a bunch of trades flowing through. So this is something you definitely don't want to be involved in. So kind of how I saw the charts today, it really only talked about two setups both that I took, one that I lost initially, and then I was able to get a green on the second one. And then there weren't too many other setups. Well, let me clarify. There are second entries all over the place, but a lot of them felt too aggressive and they fell short for me due to bad signal bar or just the context wasn't quite right. So hopefully we get a little bit cleaner price action tomorrow, and hopefully that was helpful.